I'm reading this from Al Jazeera's website. Sador Mohebi, spokesperson for Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, says the United States resorted to economic warfare against Iran is itself proof of defeat on the battlefield, according to Iranian state media. Who won and who lost? Trump says that he won and Iran says that they won. If we won the war, why can't we get into the Hormuz Strait? Why are we still over there? Why are we letting our petroleum reserves dry up? We are currently at 298 million barrels. The day before America attacked Iran, February the 27th, we were at 415 million barrels. This represents 40.6% of the reserve's 714 million barrel capacity. The government released 3.7 million barrels this week. Why is Trump angry with South Korea for not helping him open the strait if we won, as he keeps claiming almost every day? Trump trying to claim victory for opening the strait, which he hasn't done yet and can't do, is as ridiculous as the notion that that's what he sent the military there to do in the first place. And since many of us are bad at remembering recent history these days, I bet you most of us can't remember 9/11. I'd like to remind you why we started this illegal war against the Iranian government and its people in the first place. As recent as early March, a few days into the war, Trump said that he needs to be involved in selecting Iran's next leader after U.S.-Israeli missiles killed the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, on February the 28th after reaching an Oman brokered deal just hours prior to the attack, in which Iran, in indirect talks with the Trump administration, agreed never to stockpile enriched uranium. That's right. But little did Iran know that getting that dust, as Trump put it, wasn't the plan at all. No, it wasn't. The plan was to get regime change in order to get that oil to have some negotiating leverage with China's Xi Jinping in their meeting in China the following month, April. He even doubled down, Trump did, by teasing reporters about who he wanted Iran's new leader to be. Remember that? Again, just days into the Iran war, Trump told Axios that he had to be personally involved in selecting Iran's new leader. He said that the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, was unacceptable to him, unacceptable to Trump. I do not like the leader of your sovereign country. He said he wanted someone like Delcy Rodriguez to be Iran's next leader. I've linked all of this in the description. In fact, by the end of March, just a month into his war on Iran and optimistic of its eventual capitulation, remember his head, Trump's head, was swollen up like a watermelon after kidnapping Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro 2 months previously in January. When asked by reporters at his golf course in Florida, he told them that the war was already won and described it as a little excursion. A reporter asked Trump, "What can stop you?" And you know what Trump said? Remember? Trump said, "My own conscience is the only thing that can stop me," right? Okay, so he told reporters that his preference would be to take Iran's oil, okay, by seizing its export hub at Kharg Island, which processes 90% of Iran's oil exports, right? Go back and look at that. Yep, that's what he said. It wasn't to open the strait was wide open. Okay, I think it's safe to say, though, that a war Donald Trump said would last only weeks, lasting 6 months and counting, right? Because we're going into September. That if the U.S. has not lost the war with Iran, you can't say that it won it either, especially if you go by the optics, beginning with the fact that Iran is now taking the offensive. Yeah, they're hitting first. They're taking the offensive, and America is taking the defensive posture right now in the war. Now, this is a complete role reversal from their postures at the war's outset. Of America's 19 bases across the Persian Gulf at the outset of this war, 15 have been taken out, according to the Council on Foreign Relations. And the munitions, the magazine is so low that it will take years to replenish, according to Dr. Kelly Greco, defense policy expert at the Stimson Center, a U.S. think tank. Just to whet your appetite, from the CSIS. That's the Center of Strategic International Studies, which I will link in the description below. Okay, let's start out with the Tomahawks. Now, at the outset, we started out with 3,100 Tomahawk missiles at a cost of $2.6 million per missile. Today, well, as of the time they put this chart out, which I believe was in March, we got 1,000. We had 1,000, probably less than that now. JASSMs, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missiles, 4,400 at the outset, at a cost of $1.9 million. Today, from 4,400, it's now 1,100. Now, PRSMs, that's Precision Strike Missiles, okay, we had 90 at the outset at $1.6 million per. Today, we have on the low end 40 and on the high end 70. That's it. So we lost 20 of those at $1.6 million. This is a SM-3. Hold on to your seats, which is a Standard Missile 3, which is a ship-based surface-to-air missile. We had 410 at the outset at $28.7 million per missile. 410 at the outset, 130 now. And they still holding down that straight. Now, Patriot missiles, we had 2,330 at the outset at $4.9 million per missile. Now, we have 1,060 left. And this war is costing us, the taxpayers, $1.5 billion per day. Before I let this go, I want to go to the most important cost of this war. Total casualties stand between 8,994 to 18,000. That's total. Confirmed U.S. KIA, 18 to 20. Civilian deaths, 1,782 to 3,760 human beings. According to a congressional research report on the congress.gov website, America has lost 42 military aircraft, including 24 MQ-9 Reaper drones at a cost between $34 million each. Now, according to a congressional research report on the congress.gov website, America has lost 42 military aircraft, including 24 MQ-9 Reaper drones at a cost of at least $34 million each, and at least 7 KC-135 Stratotanker aircraft at a cost of $39.6 million each. I just had to throw that in there. We have sailors jumping off of the USS Abraham Lincoln because they've been going without basic supplies. You know, with all this money flying around, you know, you're going to forget things like toothpaste and deodorant, soap, fresh food, vegetables, milk. You know, you might forget a few things like that. You know, you are dealing with all these logistics. As far as retired Navy commander and senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, Brian Clark, is concerned, in his words, his own words, we didn't plan for this war. We just did it sort of on the fly. Wow, no kidding. Now, why did this ship lack basic supplies like these and even, as I said before, decent food like milk, fresh meat, vegetables? Why did this ship lack basic supplies in the first place? Now, the possible answer to this question will lay bare the stark contrast in planning between the U.S. and Iran and why Iran has, for all practical purposes, won the war. It was won on the 28th. Because all of the think tanks, including the Pentagon itself, warned the president that trying to invade Iran would cause Iran to lock up the Hormuz Strait. So it was won back then, actually. On day one of this so-called war, February the 28th, Iran conducted retaliatory missile and drone strikes on Bahrain, where the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet is headquartered at Naval Support Activity Bahrain. And this resulted in the first 2 U.S. casualties and more than 51 injured. Now, subsequent attacks by Iran left the Bahrain naval base too dangerous to use. This forced the Navy to resupply the ship in the Indian Ocean, more than 2,200 miles away from the Strait of Hormuz, which basically took the ship out of the war. It took them out of the theater, out of range. Trump is now trying to have more of these ineffective ships built for our Navy. You have a good day. Thanks for watching this video.